Imposter Syndrome. Hello and welcome to today's Steelo Podcast. We'll be talking about Imposter Syndrome. Now, even though we are a steel manufacturing company and you might think, well, what has Imposter Syndrome to do with what we do? But actually, the reason why I wanted to talk about it is that as part of our podcast, we want to share not only knowledge and information about the steel manufacturing world, but also various management tips and sort of our experiences with running and growing a business. Now, with imposter syndrome, it's something that I think everyone experiences imposter syndrome, including myself, obviously, but some experience it much worse than others. So I would like to talk about the ones that are literally paralyzed by imposter syndrome. Now, let's start with the definition. So the definition on Google is that imposter syndrome is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. So in other words, someone achieves something outstanding, yet they still think that it was down to pure luck. So this is the sort of traditional definition of imposter syndrome. But then in everyday use, imposter syndrome is used for situations when people don't believe in themselves, where they, let's say, are about to go on stage and suddenly they almost have like this nervous breakdown where they just think, well, who am I to go on stage? And I've got this empty mind. I don't know what I'm going to say. Surely there are more qualified, highly qualified people to say what I'm about to say rather than me myself. So this is also something that I would say goes under imposter syndrome. And the reason why I say all of us have it is because, first of all, most, if not all of us, are afraid of public speaking. And if you haven't had the opportunity to try public speaking, then try recording a video and posting it on social media. It's exactly the same thing. Suddenly it paralyzes people and suddenly their minds go blank. They just think that they have nothing meaningful or important to say. And so going back to imposter syndrome, the reason why I'm passionate about it is because I can see how detrimental it is, how devastating it actually is to many individuals. Now, obviously, when someone is artificially motivated because they listen to motivational speakers or they hear these phrases about like just push yourself and jump outside of your comfort zone and you can do it and all of that. Yes, you can artificially motivate yourself, but you are actually detaching yourself from your own self, if that makes sense, which means that you're basically not following who you actually are deep inside. So with imposter syndrome, the trick is that this is purely down to psychology. You can't force yourself to be different. There are many underlying reasons why you have this fear, why you are shy, and just forcing yourself, saying, I have to do it, what are the people around me going to think if I don't do it, and so on. You just can't force yourself. And as funny as it sounds, the solution is in psychotherapy. Now, I know it might be a shock that we should be talking about steel and now we talk about psychotherapy, but that's the way humans are built. I mean, we are driven by our minds, and if there are things that aren't quite right with our minds, then unfortunately they sort of surface as obstacles or challenges that basically kill our productivity or who we actually can be. So that is why the easiest way to overcome imposter syndrome is to actually seek professional help. And when it comes to professional help, I find it quite funny that if we have a problem with our tooth, we know immediately what to do. We go to a dentist. We don't try sorting it out ourselves by grabbing a screwdriver and fiddling with our tooth or taking a hammer and knocking it out. We go to a specialist. If we break our leg, we also know what to do. We go to a specialist that will fix that broken leg. We don't try and mend it at home because obviously we might risk losing it altogether. But when it comes to our psychology, for some reason, people just don't want to seek professional help. Whereas psychotherapists, they are specialists who have been training for 5-7 years or more with some vast experience in helping these kind of situations. Now, you might know, or maybe not, I quite like helping other people succeed in business. And like I mentioned, I find it devastating to see someone with a proper skill, something that they are obviously, objectively very good at, yet them themselves, they absolutely don't see it that way. They are scared to the bone. They just don't understand that they are capable of giving to the world something that a lot of people will appreciate. And that's why I find it heartbreaking, because they are good at something. They could build a great business around it. They could help the society. Yet in their minds, they just don't feel like they deserve it. Or even worse, they've got this blank mind suddenly that what they know is meaningless, and surely no one will appreciate what they can give back to the society. And unfortunately, I've seen too many similar situations where people just are literally blocking themselves. But again, please remember, you can't overcome it just by forcing yourself out of it or trying to logically explain things. You really have to work deep down and understand where that fear is coming from. Please let me know your thoughts on this. As you've worked out, this is slightly a subject away from steel manufacturing. But I'm curious to find out what your experiences are with imposter syndrome and how you yourself manage to overcome it. Remember to subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of our future podcasts, and see you soon.